for non-performing discos. Federal government plans Electricity Regulatory Commission at the first NESI stakeholders meeting of 2024 in Lagos State. It also stressed that the individual performances of the discos shall be examined on a case-by-case basis going forward. Officially, Nigeria has 11 power distribution companies that supply electricity to over 12 million registered power users across the country. Now, the successor discos were privatized in November 2013 alongside the power generation companies that produce electricity supplied to the national grid. Now, the TCN transmits the power produced by the GENCOs to the discos for onward distribution to the users nationwide. But the sector has been plagued by a series of concerns. Top amongst the issues is poor liquidity and complaints around the inability of discos to make adequate financial remittances to the industry to guarantee power production. But in a series of posts on power sector regulators' official X handle on Monday, it was stated by the vice chairman of the NERC, Musiliu Hussaini, urged discos to improve their performance or suffer consequences. He was quoted saying NERC will look at performance on a case-on-case basis. Sanctions and actions will not be the same. Ensure that you discos improve your efficiency. I think at this point it's needed because, Simeon, we do not have light.
My dear,
These past few days have been very, very, very concerning.
Very, because looking at it, I don't know what has happened with power generation. This day we've seen hits. The heat is, really alarming, really troubling. And it's a good one that, the FCCPC have actually said, those airing discos will be dealt with. And they've even gone as far as even telling customers that any disco that gives you estimated billing that is beyond the cap, report them to us, let's sanction them. And it's a good one. I know yesterday in the business news we talked about discos exceeding their cap in billions.
Yes.
And then you ask yourself, who is chopping this billion at the end of the day? And away from that, let's move on to more trending stories, and let's talk about maritime workers that are now threatening strike because of the proposed 50% revenue reduction from the Nigerian Port Authority. Maritime workers have issued a warning of a potential nationwide strike if the federal government proceeds with its plan to automatically deduct 50% from the revenue earned by the Nigerian Port Authority. And this caution was conveyed in a joint statement by the Senior Staff Association of Statutory Corporations and Government-Owned Companies and the Maritime Worker Union of Nigeria in Lagos. And the statement was signed by its president, the president of both unions, Mr. Akinola Obodunde and Mr. Adewale Adeyanju, respectively, highlighted that they have already sent a letter to the president concerning this matter. And of course, they emphasized that if the decision is not reversed, it will result in a withdrawal of workers and a complete shutdown of ports across the country. And they are advocating for a 30% deduction from the MPA's revenue instead of the proposed 50% reduction from their revenue. And of course, they said they are going to protest if nothing is being done about it. Imagine, maritime workers shutting down. This means clearing of goods. Those whose goods are to be cleared, it will be, a troubling time for them.
Yesterday we also talked about the fact that customs had said they were going to have, the rates were always changing.
The charges.
So
yes.
the charges were always changing. So manufacturers, businessmen, and importers and exporters were complaining that the rates keep changing. Within the space from November last year to this year, we've seen about 6 consecutive increments, in the exchange rates at customs. So seeing this other one, you're wondering, at what point are we going to take the economy seriously? And this issue of the naira to a dollar, it's one that is affecting every single business, whether directly or indirectly, Simeon. At this point, we need to do something about the naira and the dollar.
Very important.
Still talking about the naira, it reaches an all-time low at the official market. The naira fell to a new all-time